I know, shocker. I never thought we'd live to see the day where the video games industry engages in crappy business practices. But then I woke up. And honestly, with the way the industry is nowadays, you could probably do one of these videos a day, because according to @JasonShire on Twitter, link in the description down below, Microsoft is laying off 1,900 people in its gaming division, including Activision Blizzard, just 3 months after closing its $69 billion acquisition. Story coming shortly, first reported by The Verge. And then in the replies to that chain of tweets, Daniel Ahmad said, "That's 5,900 video game industry layoffs in 2024 so far, nearly 60% of 2023's total, and we're not even at the end of January." And I've seen a mix of reactions to this information and to this breaking news, ranging from genuine critique at the state of the video games industry and Activision Blizzard and Microsoft as a whole, to some people being borderline surprised by this development, and a lot of people not being so. And I think that's a bigger damnation of the industry at large than anything before. And I believe it's an excellent time to remind ourselves and everyone out there that companies and corporations don't care about people. They don't care about ethics, they don't care about camaraderie, they care about the bottom line, and will willingly, shamelessly, do whatever is needed to get more money, at the expense of the worker, but also the consumer. No corporation has, does, or ever will do something out of the goodness of their heart. If they perform some action, that's because it will generate some kind of positive growth or revenue at some point in the future. Because sometimes decisions made with obvious long-term negative consequences are made to satiate an immediate greed or need by a specific executive or whatever. Think back to the Xbox One announcement and the disastrous marketing train and go look up that garbage train of a story if you need to. Sometimes actions may seem generous or good-hearted in the now, but over time generates money for the company in some shape or form. They aren't your friends, they aren't your ally. They want money and will dance to whatever tune or act however they need to acquire and siphon more money from you. They don't care about your well-being, your beliefs, your validation in society. They care about how they can convince you that they are good so that you'll spend more money with them, and to keep their name as the talk of the town so that more people will realize, hey, maybe I should spend some more money with them. Whether it's laying off workers who dedicate their lives to trying and making games for people to enjoy, or ham-fisting grotesque monetization practices and ripping out core components of a game to be sold back to the consumer at a premium, they will do what they believe is best for more money. Not the health and longevity of its players, workers, or games, but for money. It is plain and simple as that. It's always, and always has been, about the money, and it'll always be about the money. Because Microsoft has Activision Blizzard King now. They don't care about making sure each IP is given love and care and to better the working conditions of Blizzard. They never cared about that. They don't give a crap about that. They care about how they can use the things they just bought to make as much money as possible. They have Call of Duty, Candy Crush, and World of Warcraft, as well as a stronger base in the mobile market now than ever before. They care about how they can use the things they just bought to make as much money as possible, as I just said. And they can dole out the scraps to whoever they want to make sure whatever they want is made to make as much money as possible. It's about getting more power and more money, and for these executives in big suits to continue with this train of thought. It's about getting more personal power and more money for themselves, and they will drain the proverbial sponge until it's beaten and tattered and a shell of its former self, and glide off to whatever next venture will get them another saturated sponge from which to squeeze it dry, with their golden parachute all the while, built on the backs of the workers and the consumers. This is the system. It's not broken, it's working as intended. And I talked about yesterday with the success of Palworld that game is doing so well because people find it fun and enjoyable. Random little internet controversies of no significance to most consumers and players. Microsoft is probably kicking their heels up in the air with a grin from ear to ear because they realized they just got in on a massive cash cow. Do you think anyone in the industry truly, genuinely cares, especially a lot of these corporate executives that are looking at the success of Palworld and genuinely care about the controversy surrounding AI? Or that some people take issue with the depiction of, like, slavery in the game? No, you want to know what they're looking at? They're looking at the fact that it's already sold 8 million copies. And that's sold. That's not including Game Pass. Sold. S-O-L-D. Because a lot of the times, the voices of the consumers coming together can make a difference. But when we are busy fighting amongst each other about pointless topics and controversies that people en masse simply do not care about, and we waste very valuable space and room for discussion on topics no one cares about, en masse, it allows companies a little bit of breathing room where they can slip things under the rug, as most of the ire and vitriol on the internet is directed at something else that in the long run of things doesn't matter that much, but it can be used to masquerade absolutely scummy business practices at the expense of what I've already said before, the worker and also you, the consumer. It's a gross, disgusting reality, but it's the reality nonetheless. These people don't care about you, they don't care about any of these controversies, they only care about what will affect their money, what will affect their bottom line, and they only care about how much money they can make as fast as humanly possible for as little effort as humanly possible. And they will placate to whatever societal norm they deem as mandatory to placate to in order to generate more money. They don't hold any standards or ethics or morals, at least on a business-wide perspective. Far more often than not, when you're at the top of the proverbial food chain in this regard, you simply and solely care about the money. Because that's how it works. In an idealized notion, an idealistic society, and your idea of that is irrelevant, because this is the reality. And if you want to make actual palpable change in the world, you have to first understand the reality. Understand that most people online don't care about the accusations of Palworld in regards to AI, and most of those accusations, to my knowledge right now, or at least from what I've seen on Twitter, were just made up. I don't care if like certain models resemble Pokemon or whatever. Because the more you poke at that thread, the more you can really unravel that story. Go back to Dragon Quest and compare the models from Pokemon to Dragon Quest back in the day, and then come back to me on that one. Let the legal system deal with that. Let copyright lawyers in their respective countries deal with that issue. It is important for game journalism and also the consumer market at large to focus on the actual palpable issues that affect not only the workers but also us, the consumers. Because these corporations and these business suits don't care about your well-being, they don't care about the well-being of the workers or the consumer, they don't care about the happiness, they only care about it if they can make money from it. As I said before, this is the system. It's not broken, and it's working as intended. And I didn't come up with that line. Hell, that line has been talked about for a long time. But it is true. And no matter how much you don't want it to be true, that doesn't distinguish reality. That doesn't change reality. No matter how much you wish something could not be true, that doesn't somehow manifest it in reality as if this is some kind of like failing godparent sketch. You have to vote with your wallet. It's as simple as that. How many times? How many times does this have to be proven before it becomes far more known and accepted? The only thing these companies care about is money. And if you want to make them change, you have to prove that a different path will lead them to more money. Whether that is by playing games that are complete packages on launch, that don't try to exploit both the worker and the player, or disincentivizing having these conditions work to begin with. But that one's likely to not happen because it hasn't really happened in overall society at all. Trace back where your clothes were made from, or where your phones or even the computer you're working with is here, where those materials originated and the working conditions there. It's a crappy reality, but it's a reality we live in nonetheless. But it doesn't mean things have to stay like this, and it doesn't mean you can't advocate for better change. But you have to know where to attack. And by attack, I mean like make a forum post or whatever. Or vote with your wallet. That's the main one. Vote with your wallet. You have to know what to support, when to support it, and to not be dissuaded. Because other people may disagree or have different moralities than you. People en masse can make a difference. But if people online are too busy focusing on getting upset because they don't want to believe that this is the reality we live in, then it only gives these companies room to enact more crappy policy that affects both the worker and yourself as the consumer. It's a harsh reality, but again, as I said before, it is reality nonetheless. And you can either bitch and moan about how it shouldn't be the reality, or you can get on your knees, get a little bit of elbow grease going, and start to work for something better. Support better games, support better companies with better conditions, and you have to bear in mind the reality. There's no perfect world, there's no perfect company out there, but it is a spectrum, and you can push the needle a little bit away from the extreme end that we're currently at. More often than not, consumers on the whole have an extremely short memory. A controversy can happen, erupt in popularity, and fade into the twilight hours as fast as it came into dawn. Why would any company care about that kind of stuff if they know that all this controversy will just fade away, as will these layoffs? Because they'll come out with one new trailer for one new game or one new cinematic, and all will be forgiven. Because that's what happened for Blizzard back in the day when they had all their controversies. They would pump out a new trailer for a new game, and a lot of people would already forget what they were so mad at before. Because people have short-term memories when it comes to this stuff. Because a lot of people en masse simply just want a fun game, and they don't care about anything else, and I can't blame people for that. Because that's the way the world works. That is reality. And it sucks, and it's hard to enact change in that system. But it is the system nonetheless. It's not broken, it's working as intended. But that doesn't mean every game out there is crappy. There's a lot of fun and amazing games that are coming out and that have come out. And it's games journalism's responsibility to inform and educate about these games. People en masse don't want to be talked down to. They don't want to be belittled. They don't want to be treated like a village idiot. They just want a good game, because that's what's important to them. Because the world is cold, harsh, and cruel. And they just want a little bit of comfort, a little bit of escape from this cold, dark reality. And there's nothing wrong with that. And to pretend that there's something wrong with that is doing a complete disservice to consumers and other consumers. Do you think Microsoft would have laid off these people if they thought they would lose money because of it? Au contraire. They did it because they believe that they will make more money because of it. They have to pay less people. Duh. Why do you think they did it? Because they don't believe that having them is valuable enough to them. And that sounds cruel and harsh because it is. Because that's the system. Microsoft got what they needed with the acquisition. They got a bank of IP and they got the games. They can do whatever they want with them now. I haven't enjoyed Activision Blizzard games for a while. I tried Modern Warfare 3 a little bit to see how it was, and I quickly fell off of that game. So I chose to take my time somewhere else. The games I find more enjoyable and more worth my time and effort. And you want to know the sad reality of things? Most consumers aren't going to care about this. And that can be a sad reality, and it's okay to admit that that's a sad reality. But it's a reality nonetheless. It sucks, it's scummy, but it's reality. And not scummy on the consumer's part, by the way. It's scummy because these companies know that people won't care in the long run, or that most people out there won't care. Because again, like I said, most people just want a good game. They don't care how it was made, they don't care when it was made, they just want a good game. And there's nothing wrong with that. What is wrong is going after fellow consumers and fellow workers when you know that won't do any good to anyone. You're not going to change anyone's mind. What do you think you're going to do? It's a freaking Twitter thread. It's a forum post. In order to address a problem, you have to know what the problem is and who is perpetuating the problem. And there's no easy answer here. That's the other thing. There just isn't. And it will take collective discussion to try and move this needle. But if collective discussion, like I talked about yesterday in the Palworld video, is too focused on topics and conversation that people en masse simply don't care about, where games journalism and media and discussion tries and treat the consumer as if they're some brainless idiot, just laying in the corner, drooling from the mouth. No one likes to be belittled. No one likes to be talked down to. And by focusing in on these controversies and these topics of conversation that most people don't care about, you are giving these companies a scapegoat so that they can enact this policy and engage in these business practices without pushback, without public discussion, because they know all that discussion is about something that people will forget about in a week, or that they just don't care about to begin with. And you can hate the messenger all you want, but the message is reality. And with that, I'll call the video there for the day. Thank you all for tuning in. My pleasure for making the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and helps support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. Talk about the qualities of games. Talk about the stories and the passions behind these games. Uplift amazing games as well. Thank you all for tuning in. Stay safe, have a great day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Until we meet again.